Hi boys and girls. Today we're going to go over the part of the writing process that's called how we share our thoughts. So today we're going to come up with a chart about different ways that we share our thoughts, and that's part of the writing process. So let's get started. So the basic one that we all think about when we say share our thoughts or the writing process, of course, is writing. When we come up with a thought, we can write it down on paper, and that's part of the process. So I'm going to put that on our chart. Okay, we can write. Okay, and when I say write, I mean we're going to use a pencil. Write it down on paper. All right. Another way that we can share our thoughts is by typing. And of course, with virtual learning going on right now, typing is definitely one way we are going to share our thoughts. So we can think about something, and instead of writing it down on paper, we can type our thoughts. This is the best I can do with a computer. We got our little keys on the keyboard for a computer. Okay, so we think of our idea, we can go open up a document and we can type it down. Okay. Another way that we can share our thoughts is by drawing a picture. So when we have a thought about something, maybe we're thinking about how much we love our family, we can draw a picture of our family, and that's a way to share something that is in our brain and get it out. We can draw. Here's my paper, and I can draw a picture on my paper. Okay. Another way that we can share our thoughts is similar to draw a picture, but we can go on the computer and we can find a picture of something we're thinking about. So maybe you have a favorite TV show, or maybe there's your favorite kind of dog. You can go on the computer and you can actually insert a picture of something that you're thinking about. So that's another way to share thoughts. And everybody always likes to see pictures because it helps them really think about exactly what you're talking about. You can insert. And this is something with online learning that we will be doing with our writing, inserting a picture. Okay, so we find it, the computer screen, and we can insert it. Okay, insert it in. Another way that we can share our thoughts is by saying our thoughts. Sometimes we can share our thoughts with our teacher, we can share our thoughts with a parent, we can share our thoughts with a friend. So sharing our thoughts is another way that talking to someone is another way that we can share our thoughts. And we're going to talk a little bit more about sharing our thoughts by talking. These are people, right? And you can be telling them something and they can be telling you something. Okay, so talking is a way to share our thoughts. And usually that's actually the first step. And when we're thinking of something, we usually want to share it first by telling someone about it. So we're going to go a step further and talk a little bit more about talking to share our thoughts. Right now we're online. However, eventually we will go back to being in person. Some of you will be virtual a little bit longer than others. But when we're sharing our thoughts, there's things that we need to remember. So one of those things is if we're talking to a family member, that's fine because we're back and forth. But if we're on a Zoom meeting or if we're in the classroom, we have to make sure that we raise our hand before we share our thoughts. That way people are ready for what you're about to tell them. And not only raise our hand, but we need to wait patiently to be called on. Okay, so we need to raise our hand. Another thing that we have to remember when we are talking to share our thoughts is that we need to make sure that we stay on topic. If you want someone to understand what you're trying to explain to them or to understand your thought, you need to make sure that you're telling them exactly what you want to say by staying on topic. So if I want to tell somebody about my favorite dog, I'm not going to include that I went and saw a pig the other day. I wouldn't include that because it doesn't have to do with my favorite dog, which was the thought that I started sharing. Okay, so we want to stay on topic. And that goes for if we're in class talking about our writing, we don't want to go off topic and tell somebody about something else. So we want to stay on topic. It's a way for everybody to understand our thoughts. Okay. The other thing that when we're sharing our thoughts is we also have to make sure, as much as we want our thoughts to be heard, everyone else wants their thoughts to be heard too. So we want to make sure that we take turns and that when somebody else is talking, that we're listening to them because our thoughts are just as important as their thoughts. So we want to make sure that we are taking our turn and we're waiting patiently. So let's just review real quick before we end our anchor chart for today. So we talked today about how we share our thoughts, okay? What's in our mind? How do we share that? We can write our thoughts down on paper using a pencil. We can type our thoughts in on the computer. We can draw a picture to go with our thoughts. We can insert a picture. That means when we're on the computer, we can look and find a picture that goes along with what we're thinking and insert it into a document. We can share our thoughts by talking, whether right now, a lot of times we're sharing our thoughts by talking with a family member, but we can also share our thoughts by talking to our friends, by talking to our teacher. It's a way for people to know what we're thinking. And we have to remember when we're talking that we need to raise, if we're with a group of people, we should be raising our hands so it stays fair and everybody gets a turn. We need to make sure that we stay on topic, and we also need to make sure we're listening to others. All right, boys and girls, we will do more with writing coming up soon.